In the next few minutes, I'm going to expose 15 salt brands hiding chemical additives and synthetic anti-caking agents behind their everyday kitchen staple image. Plus, I'll reveal the 5 brands that deliver pure salt without any of the unnecessary extras. Stay until the end, because number 1 will change how you season your food forever. Let's start with what's sitting in your pantry right now. 15. Morton iodized salt. Starting at number 15, Morton has been a kitchen staple for generations. That familiar blue cylinder with the umbrella girl appearing in American homes since 1914. There's real nostalgia attached to that packaging, memories of grandmothers seasoning Sunday roasts, and mothers teaching kitchen basics. But that emotional connection shouldn't blind us to what's actually inside. Morton iodized salt contains more than just salt. The ingredient list includes calcium silicate as an anti-caking agent, dextrose, and potassium iodide. For older adults watching sodium intake and ingredient quality, this matters. The calcium silicate keeps salt flowing freely, but it's a manufactured compound your grandparents never encountered in their salt shakers. The dextrose stabilizes the potassium iodide to prevent oxidation. While regulatory standards consider these ingredients safe, they transform salt from a single mineral into a multi-ingredient processed product. 14. Diamond Crystal iodized salt. At number 14, Diamond Crystal represents another trusted name with that distinctive red diamond logo signaling reliability. Diamond Crystal iodized salt lists salt plus sodium silicoaluminate as an anti-caking agent, along with dextrose and potassium iodide. That sodium silicoaluminate is a synthetic compound containing aluminum, silicon, and sodium designed to prevent clumping. For those who remember when salt was just salt, this represents a departure from simplicity. The anti-caking agents keep salt free-flowing, but they introduce aluminum compounds into a product that shouldn't need chemical assistance. As we become more conscious of cumulative exposure to various compounds, even small sources of aluminum deserve consideration. 13. Great Value iodized salt. Moving to number 13, Walmart's Great Value brand represents the budget option many shoppers trust. Great Value iodized salt contains salt plus dextrose, potassium iodide, sodium, bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. That last ingredient sounds more like a chemistry experiment than something belonging in your kitchen. Yellow prussiate of soda, chemically known as sodium ferrocyanide, functions as an anti-caking agent approved for food use, but derived from compounds most people associate with industrial applications. The sodium bicarbonate helps stabilize the iodine content. For older adults trying to maintain control over what goes into their bodies, discovering that basic seasoning contains 5 different ingredients, including ferrocyanide compounds, can feel like a betrayal of trust. 12. Kroger iodized salt. At number 12, Kroger's house brand follows the same pattern across major retailers. Kroger iodized salt ingredients include salt plus calcium silicate as an anti-caking agent, dextrose, and potassium iodide. For shoppers who develop cooking skills when salt came from salt mines and nothing else, this formulation represents unnecessary modernization. The assumption that salt is salt crumbles when you examine ingredient statements. Kroger's version shares the same problem of being a manufactured blend rather than a pure mineral. The calcium silicate and dextrose serve corporate convenience, extending shelf life and preventing customer complaints about clumping. 11. Good & Gather iodized salt. At number 11, Target's Good & Gather brand projects modern health consciousness through its clean packaging and contemporary logo. Good & Gather iodized salt contains salt plus dextrose, potassium iodide, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. This ingredient profile matches Walmart's Great Value exactly, revealing that store brands across retailers often source from identical suppliers using the same formulations. The yellow prussiate of soda appears again, that ferrocyanide compound preventing caking, but introducing industrial chemistry into everyday cooking. For consumers who trust Target's brand positioning as thoughtful and quality-focused, discovering their salt contains the same additives as budget competitors might surprise them. 10. Publix iodized salt. Moving to number 10, Publix holds a special place in Southeastern hearts, that regional chain where customer service still matters. Publix iodized salt contains salt plus dextrose, potassium iodide, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. The ingredient list mirrors great value and good and gather identically. For loyal Publix customers who have built relationships with neighborhood stores over decades, discovering that house brand basics contain the same industrial additives as corporate competitors can feel disappointing. The yellow prussiate of soda continues its unwelcome appearance. That ferrocyanide compound approved for use but derived from chemistry most home cooks would never choose directly. 9. Food Lion iodized salt. At number 9, Food Lion serves Mid-Atlantic and Southeast communities with straightforward grocery. Fundamentals. Food Lion iodized salt lists salt plus dextrose, potassium iodide, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. This identical formulation appearing across multiple store brands reveals the consolidated nature of salt processing in America. The yellow prussiate of soda makes yet another appearance, that ferrocyanide anti-caking agent showing up regardless of which retailer's label appears on the container. For shoppers who lived through eras when regional product differences were real, discovering that store brands contain identical formulations can feel like losing authenticity. 8. Signature Select iodized salt. Approaching number 8, Albertsons Signature Select brand represents their private label across stores including Safeway, Vons, and Jewel Osco. The branding suggests premium selection and quality assurance. Signature Select iodized salt contains salt plus dextrose, potassium iodide, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. Once again, the identical formulation appears, revealing that private label differentiation exists primarily in packaging rather than content. The yellow prussiate of soda continues its march through America's salt supply. The Signature Select branding implies careful selection, yet the ingredient profile matches budget store brands exactly. 7. H-E-B iodized salt. At number 7, H-E-B commands fierce loyalty among Texans who consider their regional grocer part of state identity. H-E-B iodized salt lists salt plus potassium iodide, dextrose, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. For H-E-B loyalists who genuinely believe their store delivers superior products, learning their salt contains the same additives as chains they consider inferior can challenge that regional pride. The yellow prussiate of soda appears again, that ferrocyanide anti-caking agent introducing industrial chemistry into Texas kitchens. As we become more selective about consumption, even beloved regional brands deserve ingredient scrutiny. 6. Gulf iodized salt. Moving to number 6, Gulf iodized salt represents a brand less familiar nationally, but present in certain regional markets. Gulf iodized salt contains salt plus potassium iodide, dextrose, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. This formula demonstrates that smaller brands follow identical processing approaches. The yellow prussiate of soda makes another appearance, that ferrocyanide compound consumers would never add themselves but accept unknowingly through processed products. For older adults who developed cooking knowledge when ingredients were simpler, discovering that even unfamiliar brands deliver the same processed formula can feel overwhelming. 5. Wegmans iodized salt. Approaching our worst offenders at number 5, Wegmans commands devotion among customers in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, that family-owned chain renowned for quality and employee treatment. Wegmans iodized salt contains salt plus dextrose, potassium, iodide, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. Despite Wegmans' premium reputation, their salt delivers the same processed formula as budget competitors. The yellow prussiate of soda appears once more, that ferrocyanide anti-caking agent permeating America's iodized salt supply regardless of brand reputation or price point. For Wegmans devotees who shop there specifically for quality, discovering their salt matches discount chains exactly can feel like betrayal. 4. Stone Mill iodized salt. At number 4, Aldi's Stone Mill brand benefits from the grocer's reputation for surprising quality at budget prices. Stone Mill iodized salt lists salt plus potassium iodide, dextrose, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. Despite Aldi's reputation for quality surprises, their salt follows the processed pattern perfectly. The yellow prussiate of soda continues its dominance, that ferrocyanide compound appearing in budget and premium brands alike. For Aldi shoppers who have learned to trust house brands as quality bargains, salt represents a disappointment where cost savings don't indicate similar value. 3. Food Club Iodized Salt. Claiming number 3, Food Club represents a cooperative brand appearing in independent grocers across America, those family-owned stores competing with chains through collective purchasing power. Food Club Iodized Salt contains salt plus dextrose, potassium iodide, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. Supporting independent grocers doesn't change the processed nature of cooperative brand salt. The yellow prussiate of soda appears again in this cooperative brand. For shoppers who deliberately choose independent grocers to support community businesses, discovering that cooperative brands deliver identical processed products can undermine that intentional choice. 2. Essential Everyday Iodized Salt coming in. At number 2, Essential Everyday appears in independent grocers as an affordable option, that brand suggesting kitchen basics at prices respecting family budgets. Essential Everyday Iodized Salt lists salt plus dextrose, potassium iodide, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. Despite branding suggesting simplicity, the product delivers a processed 5-ingredient formula. The yellow prussiate of soda makes another appearance near the top of our list. For budget-conscious families and retirees trying to stretch fixed incomes, Essential Everyday projects affordability, but the ingredient reality reveals a processed product identical to competitors at every price point. 1. Badia Iodized Salt. Taking the number 1 spot as the worst salt choice, Badia Iodized Salt combines everything problematic about processed salt in a brand many shoppers barely notice. Badia serves Latino communities and price-conscious shoppers with extensive spice lines at competitive prices. Badia Iodized Salt contains salt plus dextrose, potassium iodide, sodium bicarbonate, and yellow prussiate of soda. This identical formula appearing in a specialty brand demonstrates how completely processed salt dominates American markets. The yellow prussiate of soda concludes our tour through iodized salt additives, that ferrocyanide anti-caking agent appearing in brand after brand regardless of market position or target demographic. What makes Badia particularly problematic as our worst choice isn't that its formula differs from competitors, but rather that it epitomizes the processed uniformity, replacing authentic choice in American salt aisles. After exposing the processed reality of conventional iodized salt, here's genuine relief for those seeking purity. These 5 brands prove that salt can still be salt, just salt, the way it was meant to be. 5. Diamond Crystal Kosher Salt. Starting our safe list at number 5, Diamond Crystal redeems itself with their kosher salt. Diamond Crystal Kosher Salt lists exactly 1 ingredient: kosher salt, nothing else. No anti-caking agents, no stabilizers, no dextrose, no ferrocyanide compounds. Just salt. The product page describes it as chosen for simplicity and purity. Marketing claims the ingredient statement actually supports. For home cooks who remember when all salt was this simple, Diamond Crystal Kosher represents what we lost when processing became standard. The flaky crystal structure provides excellent texture for pinching and sprinkling, dissolving readily without chemical assistance to prevent clumping. Professional chefs prefer Diamond Crystal specifically because pure salt allows them to control seasoning precisely without additives interfering with flavors. As we age and simplify our cooking, ingredients that do one thing perfectly become increasingly valuable. The slightly higher price compared to iodized versions reflects manufacturing that prioritizes purity over processing efficiency. 4. Jacobsen Salt Co. Pure Flake Sea Salt. At number 4, Jacobsen Salt Company represents American artisan salt production, that small Oregon operation hand-harvesting sea salt from cold Pacific waters in Netarts Bay. Jacobsen Pure Flake Sea Salt lists 1 ingredient: sea salt. The company describes their hand-harvesting process with pride, workers carefully gathering salt from evaporating seawater without mechanical intervention or chemical processing. This represents salt production as it existed for millennia before industrialization introduced additives. For older adults who value craftsmanship and traditional methods, Jacobsen delivers salt the way coastal communities have gathered it throughout human history. The pure flake texture provides delicate crunch and clean flavor, dissolving on the tongue to deliver mineral complexity absent from processed salt. Hand-harvested sea salt contains trace minerals naturally present in ocean water, subtle variations that processed salt strips away during refining. The Oregon coast source ensures cold, clean Pacific water untainted by industrial pollution. As we become more conscious of food origins and production methods, supporting small companies practicing traditional crafts becomes both culinary choice and value statement. Jacobsen's salt costs significantly more than processed alternatives, but the price reflects genuine labor, sustainable harvesting, and commitment to purity over profit margins. 3. San Francisco Salt Company. Fine sea salt. Claiming number 3, San Francisco Salt Company delivers pure sea salt without the artisan premium, making clean salt accessible at reasonable prices. Their fine sea salt lists one ingredient, sea salt. The product description explicitly states no anti-caking agents and no fillers, directly addressing the additives that dominate conventional salt while confirming their absence here. This transparency matters enormously for consumers tired of decoding ingredient statements. For budget-conscious seniors seeking pure salt without premium prices, San Francisco Salt Company bridges the gap between processed convenience and artisan expense. The fine-grained texture matches conventional table salt, making transition easy for cooks accustomed to flowing freely from shakers. Pure sea salt naturally resists excessive clumping through proper packaging rather than chemical intervention, proving additives serve manufacturing convenience more than consumer need. The company's direct statement about lacking anti-caking agents demonstrates understanding that educated consumers actively seek additive-free options. San Francisco Salt Company proves that clean ingredients don't require luxury pricing, just honest production and direct marketing. 2. Maine Sea Salt. Coming in at number 2, Maine Sea Salt Company brings New England tradition to pure salt production. That rocky Atlantic coast where salt harvesting connected to regional identity long before industrial processing existed. Maine Sea Salt describes their product as 100% pure sea salt with no chemicals or anti-caking agents. This direct language confirms what ingredient statements should show, but processed salt obscures through additives. For older adults who remember when regional products reflected genuine local character, rather than national formulations with regional labels, Maine Sea Salt delivers authentic place-based food. The cold Atlantic waters off Maine's coast provide mineral-rich brine naturally concentrated through solar evaporation and wind, traditional methods requiring patience rather than chemical acceleration. Pure sea salt from Maine waters contain subtle mineral variations reflecting that specific ocean environment, terroir and salt just as wine reflects vineyard character. The explicit statement about lacking chemicals or anti-caking agents addresses educated consumer concerns directly. Supporting Maine Sea Salt Company sustains regional businesses practicing traditional methods, connecting contemporary kitchens to coastal heritage. 1. Redmond Real Salt. Taking the top spot as the absolute best salt you can buy, Redmond Real Salt represents geological time captured in pure mineral form. This ancient sea salt deposit from central Utah formed when prehistoric oceans covered the American interior, now accessible through mining rather than evaporation. Redmond's product page states their salt is nothing added, nothing taken away, and never processed or chemically treated. This philosophy represents the opposite of everything wrong with processed iodized salt. Redmond Real Salt contains trace minerals naturally present in ancient seawater, over 60 elements in subtle balance that survive geological transformation. The distinctive pink-tan color comes from those minerals, visible proof that this salt escaped the bleaching and processing that creates pure white industrial salt. The company's commitment to minimal intervention means you're consuming salt essentially unchanged from its formation millions of years ago. For health-conscious older adults seeking to eliminate unnecessary processing while maximizing natural mineral intake, Redmond delivers both goals simultaneously. What makes Redmond Real Salt extraordinary is the philosophical commitment behind production. Nothing added, nothing taken away isn't just marketing but operating principle, reflected in ingredient purity and mining practices. The salt requires no anti-caking agents because proper packaging prevents moisture exposure. The natural mineral content eliminates any need for fortification or stabilization additives. Redmond proves that salt production can honor both geological heritage and consumer health, delivering a product essentially identical to what humans consume throughout evolutionary history. This is salt as nature created it, simple and perfect. There you have it, 15 salt brands loading your food with anti-caking agents, stabilizers, and ferrocyanide compounds you never asked for, plus 5 that deliver pure salt the way it was always meant to be. Before your next grocery run, remember to check ingredient labels even on basics you've bought for decades. Choose kosher or sea salt over iodized versions, and don't assume familiar brands deliver simple ingredients. If this changed your relationship with something as basic as salt, hit that like button, drop a comment telling me which brand revelation surprised you most, and share this with everyone who deserves to know what's really in their shaker. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss content exposing the truth about everyday products. Thanks for watching. Until next time, season wisely.